Alright, so we need to put 5.9 on here. It just makes it easier for us to keep up with everything if it has stuff like that on there. So we're going to do that from now on.
What's the topic?
You can teach an old dog new tricks because I haven't done that before. No, we're not doing the quiz today.
Oh, wow. I was ready, miss.
Good. So don't let the fact that these are word problems scare you. Angle of elevation. It starts, well, let me get it where you can see it. It starts at this horizontal and then it goes up. So the angle starts here and goes up, okay? So that's elevation. So this is actually a drawing for the first problem. So for problem number 1, we have Casey and a lighthouse. Casey is 6 feet tall, looking up at the top of the lighthouse with an angle of elevation of 58 degrees. Alright, it just makes a simple right triangle and you use trig.
What is their sight?
So, this is what you do. You draw. So we have Casey, our little dude. And we have the light tower. I'm sure mine is prettier than yours.
Do we have to draw that?
You have to draw that. No drawing, no grade.
So that's a light tower.
Yep, that's the lighthouse. Okay, so you always draw the straight line first, the horizontal line, and then he's looking up at the top. Okay, so draw the horizontal line, and then he's looking up at the top. So I get to laugh at y'all's drawings because I'm sure y'all will be laughing at mine.
Nobody's laughing. Yeah.
There's our right triangle. Okay? Just so that you know. And I'm going to put the 58, ooh, I made this small. I'm going to put the 58 in the angle where it belongs. Casey is 6 foot tall. The lighthouse is 84 feet tall. Not drawn to scale.
Are you sure?
Okay, so how can I figure out what this side equals? We want to know how far away he is. How can I figure out this part?
So subtract 58.
Nope.
Never mind.
No 58 involved. So we're going to take the lighthouse minus this part, which is 6. So 84 minus 6 is 78. So that was segment addition, all the way back to Unit 1. First thing we learned after vocabulary. I said, we're going to use this all year. Here we are, all the way into January, and we're still using it.
778.
So now we have our right triangle. It's trig, like what we've been doing. Across from the angle is the opposite. Across from the right angle is hypotenuse. The other one's adjacent. What uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent. Okay. So I'm going to write it that new way I've started writing it. Tangent angle is opposite over adjacent, because some people are saying it's helping them to see this. For the angle, we put 58. For opposite, we put 78. And for adjacent, we put X. Okay, what do we do when the X is on the bottom? Switch it. Good. So 78 divided by tangent 58 equals X. What do we get? 1 decimal place.
5.
Go ahead and put it in. Make sure you get the right answer. Now, I've had a couple people today going, I'm getting the wrong answer every time. What are they doing wrong? It's probably not in degrees. If you get a negative, it's not in degrees. If you get a little bitty, teeny tiny number, it's probably not in degrees. Okay? So just FYI on that.
Oh.
Okay, so you try number 2. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to try problem number 2. Alright, let's see how you did. We have our kicker.
No.
Do we have our goalpost?
Yeah.
Angle of elevation from his foot to the goalpost. So you start with your horizontal line, and then we're going to go to the top of the goalpost. That is a 17-degree angle. I'm going to draw the line down here. You could draw it here if you wanted. Doesn't matter. He is 131 feet away from the goalpost. We want to know how tall it is. Okay, so here's our right triangle. Across from the angles are opposite. Across from the right angle's hypotenuse. The other one's adjacent. What uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent angle, opposite over adjacent.
Just have a question. So
Okay.
why would you not use hypotenuse?
Would be hypotenuse, but otherwise it's almost always going to be tangent. Not always, but most of the time.
Why is it?
Just the way it's set up, and just the way it's questioned. If I were setting these up, I would have some where the hypotenuse came in, or more. And like I said, this would be how far did the ball travel if it hit the top of the goalpost. So then you would use hypotenuse. So tangent is angle is 17. Opposite is x. Good question. Adjacent is 131. What do you do when the bottom is a number?
What's the Scooby do?
You switch it.
It comes over to the front. So we're going to type in 131, tangent 17. And what do you get?
40. Oh man, I just deleted my answer.
Yeah, 40.0.
40.05, so it rounds to 40.1. Okay? Alright, questions on that? Angles of depression. So it starts horizontal and then the angle goes down. Does everybody see that? Alright, so this is a picture of question 5. So the lifeguard is sitting on his little lifeguard stand. And the angle of depression to the swimmer is 18 degrees. But there's a problem with that. Is that 18 even in our triangle?
No.
Is that
No.
a what?
18's not even in the triangle, is it? Alright, so we have to do something to get that 18 into the triangle. If we look at our horizontal for our angle of depression and the horizontal for the water where the swimmer is, what kind of lines do those make? Parallel. I'm going to scoot this out a little bit so it's easier to see. And then what does this line of sight create? What's that thing called?
Supplementary.
What's this called? A transversal. Which means now all of our rules for our special angles from Unit 3 comes back, doesn't it? I said these will keep coming back. Make sure you know them. So what do we know about this angle and this angle?
They're the same.
Okay, they're the same. What's the name? What's their name? This angle and this angle.
Opposite interior.
Alternate
Alternate
interior.
interior.
So our alternate interiors are congruent. Because of that, I can put in 18 right there. Okay, so we're not just making something up, we're following the rules of geometry and using them to help us. So you're going to always do that. Now, let's think about it. How does the angle of depression relate for the lifeguard relate to the angle of elevation for the swimmer?
What you mean?
How do they relate? Because their alternate interior angles are the same, could you say the angle of depression for the lifeguard is the same as the angle of elevation for the swimmer?
Yes.
Yes. Do you see how you could say that for everything?
Yes.
Okay. Kind of remember that. So let's do our drawings. Time for our drawing. So here's a lifeguard chair, here's a lifeguard sitting on the chair, balancing. Alright, here's a little swimmer dude, legs are kicking, he's got a little swimmer hat on, goggles, swimming. Okay, this arm's pulling, this one's going out to swim, kicking, splashing. Okay, so, oh, it's a swimmer, can y'all tell? Alright, so the lifeguard, you always start from horizontal. The angle of depression down to the swimmer is 18. We want to know how far the swimmer is from the lifeguard, so that's our X. I'm going to flip the angle back down here. Once you do that, mark this one out so that when you label the hypotenuse, you don't think the hypotenuse is 18. Do you see how you can do that?
What?
It happens. I see it happen every year. So once you renumber this angle, mark this one out. So when we label opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent, you don't think the hypotenuse is 18. Because you will. Especially if your attention goes somewhere else and then you come back and you go, oh look, it's 18. Alright, so be careful. I see it happen all the time. And then the lifeguard chair is what? 8 feet. So, my oh my, what a shock. What are we using?
Tangent.
I like my little swimmer dude. Alright, so we're using tangent. Tangent angle equals opposite over adjacent. So for the angle we used 18, opposite is 8, adjacent is X. What do we do when there's an X on the bottom?
Change it.
Switch it, change it, tell it we don't like it, change. Tangent 18, and what do you get? I got 24.6 feet.
Oh, you're only going to one decimal?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know why we're going to 1 decimal? Because all her answers are at 1 decimal, and I didn't want to redo the answers to get them to 2 decimals. That's why.
What?
Honest truth. All the answers for this paper, because I got an answer key for it, are in 1 decimal.
Oh.
And I didn't select redoing it.